Agency Formation Commission regular meeting for July 15, 2015. Roll call.
Kathy?
Yes. Suzanne Lyon.
Here.
Martin Shield.
Here.
Jerry Mills.
Here.
Jim Comstock.
Here.
Frank Gillespie.
Here.
Stacy McKeon.
Here.
Ed Roby.
Here.
And Jim Mabel.
Here.
Thank you.
Absent, we have Anthony Barrington and also Joyce Overton.
Okay.
Both absent. Sorry.
And Jeff Smith.
And Jeff Stewart. Okay, thank you.
Okay, a couple of notes before we get started. Back in the back conference room, we have a hearing going on this morning, so if we could just not gather around that area, give them some space. And then we have a request for item number 8 to be moved up to our first public hearing. Make that note on your agenda. We have approval of the minutes. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes? Take a motion to approve.
Well, Madam Chair, I didn't review the minutes unless anyone had any changes.
Actually, I do, and I'm not sure if I'm just misremembering it, but on page 5, it says, I had asked whether LAFCO could do anything to ensure services are provided, and it says, Mr. Brown stated that absent enforcement authority, you could advise the city to either provide the services or detach. My understanding was, I didn't know if I know that was said, but there was nothing said about saying anything to the agency that's supposed to perform the services. I thought there was.
What page is that?
It's on page 5,
Okay.
and it's the 3rd paragraph, and it had to do with the Watershed Protection District, I think. And I thought that the question was there a way of getting the agency that's supposed to provide the services? And I thought the answer had to do with getting the agency to perform rather than the city to perform.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what I said was that since LAFCO doesn't have direct enforcement authority, nor the city basically could request that the water authority provide the services within the city.
That's what I thought.
Or the city could seek detachment and provide the services itself.
Okay, that's what I would like to see in there, then, that the city could request that they be provided or detached instead of just detached.
Okay, so with that clarification, then
I do.
If that's acceptable to everyone, I would move that we approve the minutes as amended.
Madam
I have a slight correction also on a name spelling.
okay.
Okay, Betsy, did you have a comment on
A
that?
comment and a question. The comment is that Mr. Nuttall's first name is Scott.
Okay.
Okay, that's all. And the question had to do with, at the end of the discussion, the very last thing that John said was, we'll approve this MSR with the exception of writing one additional finding. And I haven't seen anything in writing that shows what that finding is. So I'm wondering what that, because the document would change based upon that wording, and the wording wasn't discussed in the meeting.
Well, then it wouldn't be in the minutes.
We're just talking about the minutes right now. Are you saying that?
Well, the minutes don't reflect that there was a piece of work that needed to be done that wasn't written any place.
But it can't be in the minutes because it wasn't done yet.
I see, so.
We're just reviewing the minutes right now.
Okay,
for
so-
accuracy.
All right, so we'll take that up as a separate question at some point?
Yeah, I don't think it's in regard to the minutes.
No, in regard to the actual work that was done.
We're only talking about the minutes right now.
Yeah, the name, Tom, it says Tom Slayton, and his name is Tom Slate, S-L-A-T-E.
Okay, so we have a couple of corrections to the minutes.
It's not S-L-A-T-E, it's S-A-R-A-I-G-T. A-I-G-T. Is that his last name?
A-I.
A-I-G-T.
Okay.
I missed that one, thank you.
So noted. I have both of the corrections here.
Thank you. Yes?
Madam Chair,
While we're on page 5, the paragraph immediately above the one Suzanne referred to, I don't speak like that. I believe should be a T there in the bottom line. That they're not doing their job.
They're not doing their job.
Which parenthetically leads me to believe that there may be the use of spell check as opposed to actual editing.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
that's
you, Mike.
probably exactly what happened. So
That one starts off with Mr. Dunlap reiterated.
But they are no
they are
doing
no
their
doing
job.
their job. So noted.
Spell check would have not.
They are also no doing their job, but that's a whole different concept.
All right, thank you.
Based on the aforementioned changes, adjustments to the minutes, I would move that we approve the amended minutes as currently presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. This is the time for the public to address the commission on any matter not on the agenda.
Would that be an appropriate time for me to raise that question then?
Well, Mike's on his way up first.
Okay.
Carol.
Go ahead.
Good morning. For the record, Michael Dunlap. This being an anniversary of sorts of this commission's municipal service review completion on the Watershed Protection District, I would like to bring it to your attention and the public's attention that this item has still not been brought to the public's attention in the appropriate forum, and that would be the directors of the Watershed Protection District, also known as the Board of Supervisors. And seeing as we have at least 2 representatives of the county here, I would really appreciate an explanation for why a recommendation made by this commission, dominated by those employees of the county, hasn't been brought to the attention of the public. Thank you.
Do we know if that's on a future agenda?
You'd have to talk to the chair, who is Tony Farrington.
Who parenthetically is not here.
He's not here.
Again.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any other public comment?
So yes, my question has to do with that Watershed Protection District, with the city of Clear Lake MSR. At the very end of the meeting, when the resolution was put forward and voted on, the very last thing that John said was, with the exception of this one finding that has to be written, I'd like to see that finding.
Okay.
And I haven't seen it yet, so that's all.
Yeah.
In the final document, there was going to be some wording change, and John alluded to it, but there was no discussion of the content of the sentence or what the finding would pertain to. So I'd like to ask to have that completed, please.
John, did you want to comment on that now, or?
Remember that one, John?
No, but I'll send you my edited version so you can see the
It was just at the
finding.
very end of the conversation.
You know, if I forgot it, I'm bad, because this was I got it.
Yeah, it was just a little side note, and then I realized that there was
Yeah,
no
we made an
discussion.
additional finding on the Clear Lake MSR.
But we didn't say what it was, and Scott didn't say, here's the sentence, and here's where it goes, what number paragraph it is.
Right, and I added one in.
Oh, you did?
So I added several things in, actually.
Okay, so that would be good.
I'll send that to you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Betsy. Is there any other public comment?
One note, Commissioner Overton has texted me, and she's going to be here. She's talking.
Actually, her text is followed by actually
Magically appeared.
You thought that was still me sitting there.
Commissioner Overton, Commissioner Shield.
Okay.
The text has reached a whole new level.
I know.
So we
I'm
can
so buried
let
in my
the roll call
computer and
show
not
that she
knowing what's
has.
going on here.
Okay, if there's
Okay.
no other public comment, we'll move on. We have election of the chair and vice chair for fiscal year 2015-2016. John?
You want me to handle the
Yeah.
election of the chair? Okay, do we have any, I don't have the gavel. Do we have any nominations for the chair for fiscal year 15-16? We'll open the nominations for the chair.
Yeah, I nominate Stacy.
Okay, so we have a nomination by Commissioner Gillespie and a second by Commissioner Overton. And so, are there any other nominations?
No need.
Okay, hearing none, we'll close the nominations. And if you would like to entertain a motion or the election, actually by affirmation, the Commissioner Mattina will be the chair for fiscal year 15-16. And so we'll close we'll go on to the next item, which I'll turn back over to you.
Do we have any nominations for vice chair? I would nominate Jen Comstock for vice chair.
And I would second that.
If there's no other nominations, all those in favor? Aye.
Railroad's still in town, isn't it?
It is. Congratulations.
Who says there's no railroad to make?
Yeah, they're congratulations, Chairman Medina, for an excellent job.
Thank you, sir.
And that I'm quite certain will continue.
Thank you. Next is our consent agenda. Review and authorize payment of expenses for May and June 2015.
Madam Chair, unless anyone wants to have any discussion on this, I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our public hearings, we have moved item 8 up. Public hearing regarding the dissolution of Reclamation District number 695, the Tule Lake Reclamation District west of Upper Lake and south of Highway 20. John?
All right, I will give you the presentation on the Reclamation District. As you recall, we waived the fees for this. The Reclamation District has very little in their budget and lots of expenses. So what happened is the Reclamation District was formed in the early 1900s, and it consists of 827 acres of land somewhere between Blue Lake, into the Tule Lake area between Blue Lake and Upper Lake. And the Reclamation District was for summer irrigation and then flood control in the winter to protect an agricultural area. Since then, all of the landowners within the district, every last one of them, entered into the Wetlands Reserve Program. The Wetlands Reserve Program is a natural resources conservation service program that sets aside these lands in perpetuity for conservation. Therefore, there's no need for irrigation, no need for reclamation for the area, and so the district is essentially petitioned LAFCO to dissolve. And so the terms and conditions is, well, first of all, we don't need a successor agency. The NRCS is handling that function. And that if there's any outstanding revenue or financial or any money in the accounts, is that the county, the LAFCO Act provides that the county auditor shall disperse these according to the law. So the county auditor will have, once I record this, Kathy Salerland, will be dispersing the money in accordance with if there's any left. Will be going to, I assume, the county treasury, but really it's Kathy's call and she'll be researching. So,
What about debts?
do you have any debts? Or
We don't know until the county auditor provides a report. The last report did not reflect any debt.
Right, that's the impression I received. There were no debts. So, otherwise, the debt would run with the landowner.
Any questions from commissioners before we open the public hearing? Yes.
It would be appropriate in the dissolution to have a disclosure as reasonably close as possible what the amount of funds are. And I think we had an estimate, I don't recall. Do you know what they are?
The last report I saw was $327.
It seemed to me, I knew it was less than $500, and I wanted it to be publicly stated.
That was the last report I got yesterday, but that
It's
changes.
probably about correct.
That's about what I said last time.
I think that's about exactly what you said. Thank you. I just wanted that to be duly noted in the public record.
Anything else? Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone want to speak on this? Mike, are you threatening to speak on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Got the energy?
If it pleases the chair, could I do it sitting?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. My concern is, this is a resource conservation district, and its dissolution, while it makes sense essentially from a business standpoint of view, my question is, what about the recharge of the aquifer, the groundwater element involved in where this district lies? Who's, what agency is going to pick that up? Is this going to be now run by the conservation district that's at the east end of the lake and really has no tie to the west end? So that's a question I'd like to hear addressed.
Thanks, Mike. Betsy, is it regarding that?
Yes, in particular regarding that. I actually had a conversation with Dr. Scott, who runs the Vector Control District. She wanted to know if I could put her in contact with the conservation management plan for the reclamation area, and of course I cannot. I will talk to you later about the West Lake Resource Conservation District and East Lake Consolidation. I attended their meeting last night, and I have there's some connectivity to this subject, which is one of the reasons I went. But the fact that there is no conservation plan, where this lake has previously been used for many years for rice farming, which is known to be extremely polluting, and upstream of Rodman Slough, with no monitoring to see whether it's being, whether the wetland investment, the reconstruction of the wetland is effectively removing the pollutants, and all of those kinds of issues. Those need to be addressed in a conservation plan, and I don't know what the status of that would be.
Well, if you, I don't know if you have a copy of our resolution, but
Can you come up?
to the
He needs to get on the microphone.
And please identify.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Marilyn Fitneska. I'm the director, one of the directors of the Reclamation District. And by dedicating our lands, I guess I can speak to everyone, by dedicating our lands and to conservation and enrolling them in the Wetlands Reserve Program, it benefits Lake County and the nation. Because I'll just read it here. Wetlands benefit the nation by providing habitat for fish and wildlife and migratory birds. In addition, wetlands improve water quality by filtering sediments and chemicals, reduce flooding, recharge groundwater, protect biological diversity, and provide opportunities for educational, scientific, and recreational activities. And there no longer will be rice farming or any farming. It will just be returned to a natural wetland. Does that help?
Yeah, except there's no plan.
And NRCS, actually the Lake County office of NRCS has a plan.
That's all I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Betsy, there are two ladies that run that.
Sorry? What?
There are two young ladies that run that program.
What?
Yeah.
I
still can't hear you.
understand what you're saying.
There are two ladies that are very much, young ladies are very much involved in the Natural Resource Conservation Agency of the county.
Corinne Woodard, I just spoke to her last night. Exactly. I'm well aware of this. But when the director of vector control comes to me, that should tell you guys something about your communication system. That's all I'm saying. This plan, if it exists at the NRCS office, needs to be including the agencies that will be implementing the wetland restoration. And as of this moment, it does not include the Lake County Clean Water Program. And you'd think that would be integral to the implementation of our clean water quality permit. Sorry. That's why I brought it up.
Okay, John, did you have any comments on that?
No.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? If none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission. Any questions? Suzanne?
You know, and maybe this was just answered and I'm not understanding it, but from my understanding with the restoration project that we're looking at for Middle Creek, that Tule Lake has been a holding, hasn't that been like a holding pond? And I guess the question that you're asking is that once this is turned back, that somebody is in charge of making sure that it's restored to do what it originally did? Is that
Well, it's public, first of all, it's public funds.
right?
It's federal money, state money, local money, being invested in a restoration project, which, as the resolution says, is really beneficial.
Right.
No
exactly.
question about it.
Yeah.
But Middle Creek Restoration Project has 20 years' worth of plans, and Army Corps of Engineers permits and all of this stuff. Here's a similar body of water being similarly treated and used upstream and directly in contact with the restoration project that we're spending more millions of dollars on. We don't know what the impact of that restoration project is going to be. It hasn't been discussed.
Okay. There aren't any other questions or comments. We have a resolution for consideration.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that resolution number 2015-0008 be approved, subject to the terms and conditions of that dissolution of Reclamation District number 695. I hope I got that right.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Do we need a roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes, I know.
Okay, and for clarification, motion by Roby and second by Comstock, and this would be with the terms of the dissolution of the district, and for the record, can you state which district that is?
This is Reclamation District number 695, Tule Lake.
Thank you.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Overton?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Comstock?
Aye.
Commissioner Gillespie?
Aye.
Commissioner Mattina?
Aye.
Commissioner Roby?
Aye.
Is that it?
Jim Davis.
Jim.
And Commissioner Aiken. Thank you.
Okay,
Madam-
motion carries, yes.
I'd just like to add one thing for the folks out there. Betsy said that nobody had ever discussed what the impacts of this project would be. This is a project that's been going on for well over 10 years, and the impacts of it have been discussed numerous times at the Board of Supervisors. There have been public meetings in the Upper Lake area. This is just one little tiny piece of a long, long project.
And I apologize for my ignorance of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roby. Okay, next, we have a public hearing regarding a service review for fire and EMS services and sphere of influence update for the Kelseyville Fire Department, Lake County, Lakeport, North Shore, South Lake County, and Lake Hills area. John.
All right. A few months ago, I sent to you out a draft service review with for comments, contacted all the fire agencies. They've all provided comments, and I have a memo showing the comments and the discussion of Prop 172 and this ambulance issue, for example, are in that memo that I just sent to you. Also, for some computer glitch, I didn't receive the Lakeport fire comments, and I distributed a memo to most of you because some of you didn't get it. So I know Joyce didn't. And what this does is provide the updates to the Lakeport section. I think I gave, yeah, you have it, as well as a map And we went back and forth on the map, and computers being as they are, some folks couldn't read the writing that I did. So apparently, the chief of, as you can see on this map, a little map here, that there's the area that's the Cow Mountain area, I'll just call it that. That the chief has requested from Lakeport that be within their sphere of influence. While it's government land, that a lot of this land is, they respond to for medical calls mostly. And so with that being said, I looked at the sphere map for the entire county. But we have also, in other parts of the county, we have federal lands and state lands that are within the, and BLM lands, that are within the spheres of various agencies. So I would recommend we change the map to reflect that. Yes, this has become part of Lakeport sphere, and then up to the north, there's a little area I sent you where it says North Shore and Lakeport, and the both chiefs from North Shore and Lakeport agreed to this, is that we split this area, the little area here, into two parts, where the southern part would go to Lakeport sphere and the northern part Lake Shores. But then this brings up another issue, is what about all that land and the forest up above North Shore that isn't nobody's sphere? So if we're going to be adding public lands, we should be consistent, and all of that area north of the North Shore fire should be in North Shore sphere. That way we've outlined it that with the exception of that area in the Lake Pillsbury fire, but the rest of it be in North Shore sphere. So that would be a change in the recommendation, as well as the memo I wrote, the new sections, and the Lakeport Fire's comments and updates.
John, what document are you referring to in your hand? What are you holding?
Oh, sure, you can have that.
I just wondered because it wasn't in the packet.
No, it wasn't. I handed it out to everybody and put a copy in the public.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I have an extra.
Oh, that's, okay.
And you can see the map there showing. I wanted to clarify mostly what would go to North Shore and what would go to Lakeport, and get it clear before we start approving sphere lines. And I guess that's, and Jay could explain this, but it's based on response.
Basically response, yeah, we respond up there anyway. A lot of those areas are remote enough, it's difficult to access.
Any questions from commissioners? Jim?
John, and I don't have a map of South Lake County Fire and Lee County Fire, but there are large areas of BLM land that in the Jerusalem Valley, Jericho Valley. I think the majority of those, some of those are handled by Lake County Fire, or Lake, and some of Middletown. I don't know if they're in their sphere of influence either.
Yes, they are. They're in the.
I think we discussed it, but I don't recall, and I don't have the map in front of me. Are they already included?
I'll get it. Those are all within. They're all within either South Lake County Fire or.
Already included. Got it.
Right, they're already included. Remember, the South Lake County Fire annexed that whole Jerusalem Valley.
I recall that.
And Lake County Fire over on the other side, they've annexed it all. It's all within.
Goes to the Yolo County.
To the Yolo County line. So if we approve the sphere as we amend today, the entire county is within
Good.
Somebody's sphere.
That was kind of my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Suzanne, did you have a question?
No, I just didn't have a copy of the map, but actually, is there a cost associated with this that somebody's picking up?
Well, it's already being incurred, it just isn't on the map.
Okay, all right, that's what I'm asking. So cost doesn't change, it's just...
As I understand it, isn't that correct? You're already doing the service.
Already doing the
Okay,
Put it on the map.
okay, thank
We're
you.
just putting that out.
Jerry?
I'd like to state that traditionally fire departments fought fire, but now the majority of our calls are medical, and we respond to those areas frequently, summertime especially, and there's citizens of the county who benefit. ambulance calls, mainly medical. Fires, we still have agreements with other agencies that handle that mostly. Primarily medical calls, the fire department's handle.
Did you have another comment?
Well, no, they're just, in South Lake County, I know they have been responding for years to those areas that were not, and CAL FIRE and South Lake County work very closely together. CAL FIRE works with all of our departments already. These guys are doing an excellent job, and I think it's a good idea to include all of the areas and spheres of influence. It makes it, kind of clears up any ambiguity for them.
Okay, let's go ahead and open the public hearing. Does anyone from the public want to speak on this item?
I have a question,
Yes.
and it's probably directed behind me. Or maybe yours, Scott. My question is, by the commission expanding the sphere of influence, is that going to change the liability for the districts if they, for example, cannot respond to a medical emergency someplace for lack of a certain piece of equipment? I mean, some of those places you're talking about access, you need the equivalent of a wildland squad rig with a medical box on the back. And, you know, if you can't get there, what does that do in terms of liability for the district?
I would respond, maybe the chief could add to it.
Most of the calls that we're going to get.
Thank you.
Morning, Jay Versiano, Snow Shore Fire District. Most of the calls that we respond to in that area, when to get that remote out, are going to be responded to by helicopter, weather permitting. We do have four-wheel drive ambulances. Choose not to use them up there unless we have to. Again, weather depending. We all have brush rigs. Each station is equipped with one, if not two, brush rigs designed for going up there. In the instance of fire, most of that area that we're talking about north of the Upper Lake area is all U.S. Forest Service. We have an agreement to respond with the U.S. Forest with just one engine and one water tank.
So you're saying there's no concern, you're prepared? Thank you.
Correct. Thanks.
Mr. Chair, I have a question or comment. Those areas are all in what's called the SRA, State Responsibility Area, which falls first on CAL FIRE and the U.S. Forest Service. Am I correct, Jake? Correct. Thank you.
And I'd like to comment, if I may, that one of the impacts of having that codified in your municipal service review is that then when a purchaser of land, identifies the characteristics of their property, they have insurance coverage, they have, means of saying that they have emergency services and so forth. That adds value to our community by making sure that that's included. It's a very important piece of information, real estate-wise.
After the meeting, let's talk about this. This is a little more complicated than that.
I'm sure it is, but...
Yeah, they don't have insurance coverage. They're not in a district, but they could be insured because they're within 5 miles of a fire station.
That's right.
Unless the insurance industry changes it. It's much more complicated.
Well, it is, but I'm just saying that the value of having this kind of information correct in your MSR is that for real estate purposes, the investor has some idea of what they can get.
And they do have the potential and would be asked to annex.
That's right. So, it's important.
Yeah, I know, it's extremely complicated.
Well, insurance companies do check that stuff. So.
Sure.
Well,
I'll just tell you, they won't insure you.
That's pretty much their answer, yes.
Is there any other public comment?
I might add one thing, is Lake County is in pretty good shape compared to the other places I've seen.
Yes.
So,
It's thanks to our chiefs.
yes.
Okay, if there's no other public comment, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Any other questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have a question. When we add something like this, does that give you the ability for more funding because you have a bigger area?
That's a good question. That'll be for John.
Ability for more funding?
Right, because the area is expanded, is there?
It really depends upon whether the district has an assessment or special tax in place. If it has an assessment or special tax in place, then yes, that new area will be subject to that special tax or assessment. But without those in place, at least most counties will not give the fire district any of the property tax, so they don't get any additional revenue from annexation unless they have their own tax.
I have an example that came up last week when I was meeting with Jeff Gilbert, the chief of Williams Fire, Rural Fire, and they're going to annex, I don't know, 100,000 acres out there, some tremendous amount, all the way to the Lake County line. And he told me that based on his assessment out there, he'll get about $5,000 a year in revenue. There just is not a lot of revenue out there. So anyway, he'll get some, but the county will not give him any share of the property tax.
Any other questions?
And the state won't give them any portion of the SRA.
They would nothing. Well, actually, they have an assessment, so it'll be $115 rather than $135 or whatever, right?
Okay, so
I paid it.
we have 2 resolutions for consideration.
Can I call to your attention, one thing in the staff report is a rewritten section on emergency medical service and ambulance issues, and probably in Lake County, this is the most significant issue. And just be aware, make sure you read that section and read it twice, because it is important. Chief Cepeda helped me put this together, who used to be OES and also fire. And it really is critical that the local fire districts be supported in this effort, because most of their revenue comes from EMS, or a good part of it does. So anyway, that's my comment.
Most of the expense goes to the food.
Well, I'd like to amplify that if I may. As an advocate for senior services, working with 1/4 of the population in this county, that's close to 1/4 is 60 years or older. We have a high rate of frontline medical services that are performed in the home for people, and that's because we have this kind of service. It's an extraordinarily high level of service for the economy of scale that we have here, and it is so important to us to protect it. The threat to this is the desire by hospitals to compete for cash profits on their ambulance services. And we want to prevent that. It's very tricky to stop a corporate move like this, but the Board of Supervisors has it within their power to make it or break it. And so what we really need is the Board of Supervisors to support the effort of the chiefs and the districts that we definitely need. You know, the commission can strengthen that by making a clear finding that that's what you want to do. And we would really appreciate that.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you very much.
Anything else?
Madam Chair, if there's no further questions, I'd like to move that we approve Resolution 2015-006, adopting a student's fee for fire EMS service.
I'll second. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't have Commissioner Abel on here as anything other than an alternate, so you're not.
Not a voting member.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. Commissioner Overton?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Comstock?
Aye.
Commissioner Gillespie?
Aye.
Commissioner Medina?
Aye.
And Commissioner Brody?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. We have a second resolution.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we approve Resolution 2015-007, adopting the sphere of influence update for the Nelsonville Fire Department, Lake County Fire Department, Lakeport Fire Department, North Shore Fire, South Lake County Fire, and Lakeville Fire.
No, second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Overton?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Comstock?
Aye.
Commissioner Gillespie?
Aye.
Commissioner Commissioner Messina.
Aye.
And Commissioner Rowe.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, our next public hearing, the consolidation of the East Lake and West Lake Resource Conservation Districts and formation of the Lake County Resource Conservation District. John, are we continuing this?
Yes, a couple things. Is I've received a request for continuance of this item until the September 16th meeting, and that I request we open the public hearing and receive any, I've not prepared any staff reports at this point, and open the public hearing, and I know that Betsy, for one, has something to say on this, and then continue it to that date.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Take any comments?
Anybody else want to comment before I do?
Go ahead, Betsy.
Thank you. Yes, I attended the board meeting last night at the West Lake Resource Conservation District. Board members, they have not yet put together their analysis of the cost trade-off impacts of merging the assets and the liabilities. Each of them has a separate financial system and a separate set of financial obligations for the grants, and they have to complete their grant, grant. So it's a complicated bookkeeping problem more than a governance problem. It's just, those are separate entities. The concern that I expressed to the board was that we have an upcoming dilemma that's we're looking at for the next couple of years, which is the sustainable groundwater management planning activity that's going to be impacting Big Valley and Scotts Valley, where we're going to lose the representation of the strength of the representation of the West Lake board members. There is, however, a committee comprised of 2 members of each board. So for the West Lake, there's 2 people, and for the East Lake, there's 2 people, to talk about how to manage a single board, a single district, but also maintain that strength of representation on the issues for this side of the lake. There are 2 really distinct, separate issues, and Mr. Roby has alluded to this before. The Poudre Creek watershed has a different set of issues. The Poudre Creek board, the East Lake board, mostly focuses on Poudre Creek watershed, mercury contamination, that kind of thing, where the Clear Lake Basin watershed, Upper Cache Creek watershed, is a whole different animal. And so my concern is that cultural separation being addressed carefully so that we do have that groundwater management problem in hand. Similarly, we have the Scotts Valley Water Conservation District, which was mentioned on May 20th that we don't really have enough information about, but that district and the Conservation District both are not part of LAFCO. I don't know if it's ever been, I don't know if that district has ever been reviewed by LAFCO, or if it's on the list to do. Or
That's the mystery district, and yes,
Right.
it is on the list to do. I know nothing of. In fact, when I send notices out to that district, they always come back to me.
Well, and I know the district because I've been working with farmers and families out in Scotts Valley for many years. So it's a very small area of property. It's all based on property ownership, land ownership, and it has zones for representation. There are 2 seats that are up for appointment to the district board even now, and it'll come into the next election if they're not appointed. But the question of the city of Lakeport's interest in Scotts Valley water, that's going to be a dynamic part of your sustainable groundwater management planning thing. We really desperately need to have the West Side Conservation District maintain the strength of its relationship with the North Coast Regional Water Board for the Pillsbury watershed and so forth. So this is not just a simple bookkeeping task. That's what I want to report to you.
Thank you, Betsy. Any other public comment? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing and bring it back. Are there any questions now?
Are you keeping the hearing open?
Yeah, we're keeping the hearing open. We're
Oh, okay,
continuing.
sorry.
Continue the hearing.
We're going to continue the hearing, not close it.
Thank you.
It'll be continued to our next meeting.
Do we need a motion for that or just direction?
Well, first make sure that there's nobody else who wishes to speak on this matter.
We will.
And then, because it's a notice public hearing, they're entitled to speak today.
Right.
Just because you're intending to have a further hearing, you still have to make sure you do that. And then you would Have a motion to continue it to a date and time certain.
Okay.
Place.
So, again, is there anyone else that wants to speak on this? Anyone on the commission? Okay, so we're looking for a motion to continue the hearing.
Madam Chair, I would move that we continue this hearing to our regularly scheduled meeting in September, what?
16.
To September 16,
9:30.
9:30 in, we're holding that one here again, though, not,
Pardon me?
are we not holding that one here in Lakeport again?
Well, we can hold it in Clear Lake just as easy.
Okay.
That's when our regular meeting is.
Okay, it will be in Clear Lake, and the time will be 9:30 sometime thereafter.
Right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have a public hearing on a sphere of influence update for the city of Lakeport. John?
Okay, this one, there's a couple things here. Is that I did to project a map on the wall. I brought my data projector, and I'll need some help. But doing that, so you can see this sphere of influence proposal in relationship to the latest Lakeport sphere of influence from 1994. The Lakeport has an old sphere of influence that is so old they didn't even put a date on it. But it's from the 70s, actually from 83. And this was amended in 94. The sphere of influence for the city of Lakeport was reduced in 94. And I have a computer that and a map. Can I get your help here? There's the map showing here, and I'll let you just plug that in. Sure, plug it in. But before I spend a lot of time with this, I want to mention that Commissioner Farrington has asked that this item be continued or heard at the September meeting because he is unable to be present today. And that's something that I'll ask you to consider, but he specifically asked me that in an email. And so I do want to mention that what you have before you is, well, there's a couple things. Instead of burning CDs of all the environmental documents, they've all been posted online. You've been notified of the general plan, City of Lakeport general plan, EIR, the addendum, all the pertinent information, the city's general plan, it's all there. And so I'm hoping you had a time to review that. The city of Lakeport adopted a general plan in 2009. LAFCO heard a sphere of influence update. We had a hearing in, I think it was 2010 or 11. And the commission, thank you, disagreed with some of the proposals by the city and asked the city to essentially revise its sphere plan. So the city went back and amended its general plan and removed certain agricultural areas in South Lakeport, removed that area, general plan area, and there were some issues up in the Scotts Valley area that were removed from the sphere. So what you have here is there. Okay, I finally got this thing working. You have the original sphere, which is up here, this line here that goes around this way and includes all of this. This is the 1994 sphere. Whoops, I'm not very steady today. Too much. Okay, that was the 1994 sphere. And so there were areas that were removed. I didn't put them on this map, and the reason I put this map up is that as a result of the city doing everything the staff, we asked them to do, and at the commission, I believe concurred with it at the time, is the city amended its proposed sphere of influence, which includes this line here, that includes the area to the, actually it goes this way, to the west, and cuts down here and includes this, stops down here, excluding this area plan, going down here is a little bit south of that, I think it's highway, oh shoot, I don't remember that road there, but
That's 175.
175. Comes up, takes out some of the agricultural area here, comes around, includes this area, and goes back and includes the city limits. This area up here was removed from the sphere. It's largely developed already. So what I did was in the report, I went through a few options. One option is, of course, you can have a sphere of influence that is coterminous with the city's boundary. That's always an option. Another is just to leave the 1994 sphere as it is. Another is to take the city's recommendation for a new sphere based on discussions that I've had with them over the years and take out the areas that are agriculture. And another area is that I was going to propose to exclude all of this, but I noticed that a lot of this was already parcelized. There's some larger lots down in here. And I figured, well, you could take that out. However, if the city were to ever do any larger scale development, that would be something necessary to have. You just can't be doing it on lots that have houses on 5 and 2 acre lots. So to leaving the city some area to grow, that I decided, well, that's really not a good option. I do want to mention for the record, there were several landowners on McMahon Road, up, I can't see that far, but it's up in this area, that did send letters that they, emails to me. I didn't mention all of their names, but they did send me emails requesting that they not be included in the annexation. Well, this is not an annexation, and let me make that perfectly clear. There's no annexation going on today. There's a sphere of influence. Of course, the sphere of influence is one of the steps eventually toward annexation, but it definitely does not mean annexation, because there's all kinds of issues that need to be addressed during an annexation procedure. Fiscal neutrality is something that we look at. The voters, do the voters or landowners want to be in the city? The city has to file an application. There has to be an ABA property tax exchange agreement between the county and the city. And that's just to mention a few, and there's several other things that would need to occur. So this is a plan for a probable growth boundary of the city, and that's what a sphere of influence means. So it's the probable growth boundary. It doesn't say that it's going to happen, but if it is in the sphere, it does check off one of the boxes for an annexation. I will say that. Henceforth, you've looked at all the environmental documents. They all support this. LAFCO was given the opportunity to comment on these environmental documents, which we did, and so we've complied with CEQA, and so you have the recommendation, the staff recommendation. And as far as the staff recommendation goes, Scott and I have had this conversation a lot of times, because I like to weasel out of controversial recommendations. But I have to make a decision. I have to make a recommendation, so I do. And what I'll do is I throw it up to you, and you guys make the decision. And so just remember, you're the deciders. I'm just, somebody that gives you a recommendation. But nevertheless, it seems like a really sound recommendation. The city's done its planning, it's done its due diligence, and that, frankly, that is the recommendation based on that. There, with respect to the landowners out there in this McMahon area, right? If the city were to propose an annexation in this area or any other area, I'm sure the city would do a sentiment survey before they even get started in the process to determine, hey, is this even going to work? And that's okay. We don't do that in the sphere of influence process. I did have a discussion with one person. Well, this splits a legal lot of record. I said, well, okay, but it's not an annexation. If we're an annexation, then I would really get into the nitty-gritty and require a change in the annexation boundary based on whether something's a legal lot of record, which is kind of a technical term that I'm sure Rick Coel and Kevin are the only ones in the room that understand what I mean. Maybe you do. And the detail, the devil is in the detail in the annexation proceedings, and you have the recommendation in front of you, and I'll shut up.
Thank you, John. Any questions from the commissioners?
Well, a couple of comments. First, Supervisor Farrington has requested that we not act upon this. And I would respectfully request that as a commission we do not do that until he has the opportunity to be chair.
Commission.
He's sitting as a commissioner, so I'm not mentioning
Yeah,
it.
he sent it as my email. It didn't say as chairman of this or. he
As
just
a commissioner
requested-
of LAFCO, he's requesting that this be continued.
In fact, I don't know, maybe Matt Perry might shine a light on that.
Go ahead. I happen to know that guy.
I was waiting for Stacy. Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, as staff also, we'd like to request a continuance. So we haven't had adequate time to evaluate the report, and we just received it last week. So we support Commissioner Farrington requesting this also, and request your consideration for that.
Thanks, Matt.
I have a couple more things also. It was, I understand the sphere of influence is not directly related to annexation, but it's the windup before the pitch.
Well, yeah,
And,
that's a way of putting it.
and so when citizens express their desire to not be included, I can understand their fear of saying, well, you know, this train or this ball's coming at me and I want to head it off. And would it not, and it is not within our purview to say yes or no to their request at this point?
Yes, you can determine which area it is. I know it's around McMahon Road. You can amend my recommendation by excluding those areas now. Or what you can do is another alternative that I really didn't bring up in the report is this area could be you could designate it according to our policy as an area of concern. That the concern I have is that as this area remains in the county, the development patterns are shaped by the county, which may not be consistent with those of the city. And that provides a later concern to the city of Lakeport as it grows. I mean, we've already set a development pattern up here in the city. I mean, I don't know what the city could do with it in terms of annexing it, because I don't believe there's parcels available or of any size that would be feasible for them. So long-range planning-wise, that's why this area and these areas here are important to be in their sphere. But yes, I understand the citizens have an issue and they don't want to be in the city's sphere.
Were I living there, I would want my voice heard.
Right.
Whatever side I was on. And do we have said that they would do a sentiment survey. Is that proper or improper for us to do at this point, even with sphere of influence?
Well, the city could, the city normally, sure, we could do it. It's just a lot of work. We'd have to determine all the assessors' parcels and get a mailing list, write a letter and send them out and say, hey, look, are you interested in becoming part of the sphere of influence? Explain what the difference is between a sphere and annexation and get their input that way. We could do that. It will cost time and money, though, to do that, because there is some work. I know the city did one years ago when they did the Adamson annexation, which was in this area. And I think that, if I can recall, maybe somebody from the city can remind me, but one of the big issues was was it burn barrels, or was that in another county? Probably another county, because Bob Reynolds excluded burn barrels.
Burn barrels have been gone.
So I'm confusing it with another
officially.
Because I remember these sentiment surveys. It's over issues like that. How many pigs can I have on my property? Those sorts of things, kind of lifestyle things.
I have a question, if I may. Mark is here. My question is, what does that have to do with the groundwater source? You know, is the property that the city owns where your wells are within that sphere designated area currently?
I'm not sure if the groundwater source is the issue right now for the sphere. Is that?
Well, it will be an issue when you get to the sustainable groundwater management planning where the city's water is in the Scotts Valley groundwater basin. And my question is the city owns property outside the city line where you take that water, is it within that sphere of influence area? No. So it's beyond that sphere of influence area? So yeah, there's no consequence to it. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to the commission for a minute. We have a couple of things at hand. We need to open the public hearing. We've also had a request for a continuance. I would make the suggestion that a lot of time and work has gone into bringing this to this meeting and to continue it for one commissioner's vacation. I'm not sure if that's appropriate. Do we want to talk about continuing it now or after we open the public hearing?
Madam Chair, Mr. Farrington's request is one, and the CAO from the county was another, as the county staff has not had the adequate time to peruse this as they got it last week. So I think we should honor that request also. I don't see that we couldn't do just as we did with the last time. We can open public comment and continue it.
Jerry?
Chair, I have a question that I directed to Scott. I live in one of those affected areas where there's a difference, will be a difference depending how we vote. Should I abstain?
Yes, I would recommend that.
So would that affect other people? That would affect whether or not you have a quorum if other people live in the affected areas.
Well, I think we still have a quorum because we have Jim.
You have your alternate.
Alternate.
Your alternates, right, that's right.
But I'm requesting that we don't take any votes today, and we'll continue.
No, but it's good that you brought that up.
It's a good idea. It can't come back and bite you.
Right, hopefully.
Suzanne?
Yeah, I have a comment to make. You know, this has been going on for so long that I was a commissioner for the city when this first started, and I'm forgetting, I knew a lot about this. This information is going to get so old if we keep going through it and going through it, and the idea that people haven't had time to read it, my goodness. This information has been here forever, and the other thing of it is, the next meeting is supposed to be in Clear Lake, which means that all the staff members who have come here today, city and county, have to go to Clear Lake for the next meeting when it's actually about a Lakeport issue. So I think the idea that I can't be here for the meeting, I know a lot of us have canceled a lot of things to be here for meetings. And it's like, is the meeting important or not important? And it seems to me it's been going on a really long time. I just think that, you know, if you care, you got to be here.
County staff has requested, I request another, more input from, comment from Mr. Perry, the CAO, is to request to continue.
Madam Chair, as an alternate commissioner today, my recommendation would be to move forward today.
Margaret, did you want to come up and speak?
Yes, the city manager and as alternate commissioner Lyons has said, this has been going on for a really long time. None of this information is really new, and I would appreciate it if we could move forward with this item. Thank you.
Mike?
Well, as a member of the public that comes from the opposite end of the county, more or less, I have a couple questions. First comment is, thank you for recusing yourself. I think it's important that, you know, the commissioners know when to do that. The other thing is, this commission has alternates. There's a reason you have alternates. Is when one can't attend, the alternate takes the position. As far as the staff of the county not having prepared themselves for this, I'm going to echo the comments that have been made so far, which is that this has been going on for a long time. I learned 50-something years ago, you don't wait until the night before the test to do your homework.
Thank you, Mike. Matt?
The government code states that we're supposed to receive a notice 21 days before this hearing, and we do not recall receiving that notice. We received the materials last week, and so even though it's been going on for several years, the actual report from your executive officer wasn't received until last week. So that was really a short time to evaluate the report and prepare for the specific hearing. So again, I make that request for continuance.
Now, I think it's embarrassing that you would say that you don't have all the information, but we do need to make sure, did we do the timelines properly?
The executive officer's report's required to be issued 5 days prior to the hearing, which it was. The public notice was 21 days noticed in the paper, and I emailed it to the folks, including Matt. I think I've got the record back at my office.
Okay, so it was properly noticed.
But in terms of the actual report, we didn't receive it until last week.
That's true. That's true. The timeline is short. The LAFCO specific requirement is the executive officer's report has to be released 5 days prior to the hearing. And it was released, I think, last Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember, which is 5 days prior to the hearing. It doesn't say that the report's a large report. That, you know, I understand it takes a long time to absorb this stuff, and if it's a large report, it's difficult to get it done, to read it all within 5 days of the hearing. So, I mean, that is out there, but that's what we did. We provided it 5 days prior to the hearing.
So the timing was right. The information in the report is, I didn't see anything that was new or surprising. It's the same information that we've been reading for years.
Okay, well, again, you know, that's our request.
Okay.
Again, about what he's back, we request that continuance. So continue the public hearing, but at least allow us additional time for additional input before your vote.
Okay.
After
John,
today.
thank you, Matt. With Commissioner Farrington not being here, does one of the alternates vote for him, or do we just continue because we have a quorum? How does that work?
Well,
The alternate's absent too.
the county alternate is not here today, so we have 6 voting commissioners today that can vote on this issue or vote to continue it to the next meeting. So
but we do have a quorum and we do have county representation.
you do have a quorum, you have 1 county member here present.
Okay.
But you have another county member that specifically requested this be continued.
Okay. Any questions?
Not a question. If there's and there is a concern that the next meeting would be in Clear Lake. To solve all those issues, probably not continue this till the November one, which is here. That gives anybody every aspect, every minute that they would need. That's 60 days. Or that's 120 days or whatever. And then nobody could question that there was enough time.
We could move it to next year, too.
We could do that.
Really what we want to do.
Stacy, it's been since 1994.
Yes, since it's been since 1994, I don't see how November's a problem.
It's probably time to move on. Why don't we, at this point, let's go ahead and open the public hearing. We'll take any public comment.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, Rick Coel, Community Development Director for the county. Just want to clarify or find out whether Government Code Section 56425 has been complied with. And this is a provision that requires that the city and county staff discuss the representatives from both agencies, from the county and the city, need to discuss the proposed new boundaries of the sphere of influence and explore methods to reach agreement on development standards and planning and zoning requirements for that area. We checked our records and couldn't find. Maybe this goes way back.
I got a few comments on that. Okay, the first comment is that is not applicable here because it's a LAFCO-initiated sphere of influence because the state's making us do it. My second comment is I want to meet with Matt and the city manager individually sometime in August to talk about this. The third point is that one of your ex-employees and I, we met about this when he was a county employee, but now he works for the city. So, it's very informal. I think Betsy was there.
It's not like we haven't been talking about this for a long time.
I want to do is formalize this, not because we're required to do that in statute, we're really not in this case. But I would like to meet with Matt and Margaret individually, just a tete-a-tete, so to speak, about this and in the future, regardless of what happens today.
Okay, well, I just want to be on record that with the change in the sphere of influence being proposed, that we take a good look at that transition area between, what would remain in the county when annexed, in terms of, those areas being rural ag, and making sure that we're considering things like right to farm ordinance in the county's remaining jurisdiction in that western portion. And
I understand.
Have that discussion.
While you're up, did you have any comments other than how things take place? Did you have any comments on the sphere of influence itself?
Really haven't had enough time to, review
You haven't had enough time to read through it?
The latest iteration of it with this revision. None of us received the notice. I assume that the legal requirement is just that it's published in the paper for 21 days.
That's the legal.
The revision's been out for quite some time. You haven't read through it?
Not entirely.
Why?
If you're in my shoes, you probably know the answer to that.
Okay.
Work with
I could probably answer that, things that we put on me, I had a chance to do that. I'm guilty of that, I put too much on it.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kevin?
Here comes that former county, now city guy.
No spotlight on you at all.
Good morning, Commissioners. I think one thing that's important to remember in this whole process too is this is also part of a general plan amendment done by the city in response to a LAFCO-initiated sphere of influence item. We addressed, I wasn't here at that time, I'd say it's probably 2, maybe 3 years ago when we first circulated this out. We got a number of comments from both the county and also from your LAFCO board. We took a step back at that time, really took that stuff into consideration. In fact, as part of our general plan amendment that just recently got approved, we incorporated a lot of county general plan items that were missing to cover some of these areas. We didn't have anything that covered riparian corridors, agricultural issues. We've included those now and also have done a really good effort of matching up our pre-zoning items are kind of for the areas in the south of town and the west of town to make sure that those really integrate and match with what the county has. And that's all. I don't believe that there's been a direct meeting between the city and county on those issues, but that was all as a result of a letter that was provided by the county. And we incorporated a lot of that into there, and that reflects in the sphere of influence that's in front of you today. Another important point, I think probably that maybe getting lost, is we're actually retracting this boundary quite a bit. We're removing a lot of the agricultural areas out there, realizing that that's probably not appropriate for growth patterns. Some of these areas are actually still under Williams and Act contract. We've removed those out, but I mean all those other areas that you're seeing up there have been in the sphere of influence for the city at least since 1994. So I'm also available for any other comments. I apologize. My name is Kevin Ingram. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Lakeport. Thank you. And for the record, also worked for the county 10 years prior. So
thank you.
Been involved on the other side. Any questions before I head back? I can certainly come back up.
Okay, if this was not approved today, is this going to affect this Lakeport moving forward on anything?
Well, it certainly has been in the works for a long time. I mean, we feel that we have met with all the different issues that the county's brought forward and all the issues that this body has brought forward and incorporated those in there. So there's no surprises in this report. So I don't see any reason why it will need to be continued. This information has been on the table for a long time. We do have, we have a number of different actions, that we need to move forward based on this, as far as getting our general plan implemented and doing different things.
And where does your general plan stand now?
Our general plan is adopted by the city. We're in the process of actually making the physical amendments to it for the public to see. But we have other applications and other things that
that's down the line.
Correct.
So this would interfere interfere. I'm just saying, I just want to make it clear that it doesn't sound to me like even if we were to postpone it, and I know you guys want to move forward really fast and stuff, but it just feel like if we postpone it, it doesn't seem like it's going to hurt the city of Lakeport any in moving forward with anything.
And
So-
what would we gain from that?
Well, I just think that we would gain some respect and make sure that the people that are working, want to do this. I mean, if it was stopping something for the city of Lakeport, I would say absolutely, but it's not going to be stopping anything. I don't see what waiting is going to hurt, is what I'm saying. I just don't see where we're going to be affecting anything if we wait. And I personally don't care if we want to have the meeting here next time. It's not, if we wanted to move the next meeting and not have it in Clear Lake, have it here, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Any other questions for Kevin while he's up here?
Thank you, Kevin.
Just one more thing, Dan. We did realize that, that this is a more controversial issue, and at the request of Mr. Benoit, we provided that environmental document that you have, the larger document, the spiral-bound one, at the last meeting. I believe we made sure that was available for distribution at that time called.
Yeah, and it was posted on the website along with all the other documents for them to review.
That's all.
Excuse me, sir, could you spell your last name?
Ingram, I-N-G-R-A-M.
It's right in front of Scott.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
May I please comment?
Yes.
The loss would be the waste of public funds that we keep going through this over and over and over again. The material, as John said, has been available for a very long time. The question is, do you want to do it or don't you? What's your resolution? Your resolution says that the commission has reviewed and considered the final environmental impact report and addendum for the cities of Lakeport's general plan, which includes an analysis of the city's sphere of influence. This keeps wasting everybody's time, and that costs us. So, thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. The public hearing is still open. Who else would like to comment?
While someone's coming up, I do want to specifically mention the names of the people that sent emails. Barbara McCormick, Joseph Butcher, Jill Shaw, and Jody and Rob Howe. And I received emails from them that they were interested. And in Jill Shaw's letter, that she had alluded that she had contacted other neighbors. So
And it's not in the sphere of influence.
they are in the proposed sphere of influence on McMahon Road. Just want to make sure that's clear.
But do they have a problem with the sphere of influence?
They don't want to be in it.
They don't want to be in it.
They don't want to be in it, but some of them use the term annexation, so I'm not sure they were, I'm not convinced that some of them understood what was happening.
And so there's another.
Kevin Ingram again. I just want to read it in regards to McMullen Lane area there. McMahon Lane. That it's, that area has been, that's not a new proposal as part of the sphere of influence. That's been in that boundary since at least 94. So it's, and then, I think there may be some confusion thinking that this is an annexation carrying on that. But that's not an area that's new. In fact, I just want to reiterate once again that we're actually retracting, we're proposing to retract our boundary back to take out some of those areas that are ag lands and maybe not appropriate for urban development.
Thank you. Who's next?
Nobody else is going to do this. I believe this commission's responsibility is to consider the requirements or sphere of influence of agencies and municipalities to create boundaries for orderly growth. And having been a student for many, many decades of the gerrymandering that has taken place in the state of California, of how congressional districts are put together, the black line represents a perfect example to me. I see an island at the southeast corner of the city of Lakeport in the black line. It is surrounded by areas which are not in the sphere of influence. And yet, I'm sure that there are two neighbors there somewhere that have more in common with each other than is represented by that line. Your job is, try and make this orderly. So I would ask you to look at it that way.
Anyone else? Okay, so we're going to be bringing it back and deciding if we're going to continue it or close it. So again, is there anyone else who wants to speak? Okay, so I'll bring it back to the commission for questions and comments.
Madam Chair, I certainly, and maybe I had already thought this, that we were going to hold 2 meetings in a row here at Lakeport. Maybe that was on a different issue. I would have no problem with holding the next meeting here, and then that cuts the time in half. That's 60 days. We can continue it till then. I would respectfully request that we continue it till the September meeting, and then hold that meeting here, so that all the county staff, city staff, since it's relating to this area, we would hold it here, and that would give, there would be no question of anyone in county staff of having adequate time to go over anything with a fine-tooth comb for one more or 100th time.
Well, I don't have any concern that they haven't had plenty of time to go through it with a fine-tooth comb.
I understand.
And the city has made all of the changes that the county had requested.
Okay.
And definitely done, listened, taken the time. We have had correspondence and made sure that we had it so the county and the city were both happy. So it's already happened. I don't have a concern.
Well, I do request as the CAO of the county and the community development director have requested that. I would respectfully request that we honor that, or we need to make that an item that we decide if we're going to continue it or not.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I think if it was that important, if it's that important to Commissioner Farrington that he wants to postpone it to be here, maybe he should have changed his schedule to be here, because all of us did.
Thank you.
I wasn't commenting about Commissioner Barrington, I was commenting about the scale and community development director. So that's fine.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can I direct a question to the executive director or the council?
Go ahead.
What is the reason for having LAFCO meetings alternate from Lakeport to Clear Lake?
That happened back in 2001 or 2002, where the commission desired at the time to have the meetings alternated from Clear Lake to Lakeport. That's what the commission desired back then. It's in our bylaws.
Might it be that that's supposed to take place so that the public that the commission is supposed to represent has an equal access from one end to the other?
I agree.
Then I would object to moving the next meeting. I'd like to have it closer to my home.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So right now, we need to decide if we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing.
I would move that we keep the public hearing open and continue to a date time certain. And place, we'll decide.
I don't know what you're saying.
So there's a motion to continue the public hearing. Do we have a second?
I'll second that on the condition of respect. I just think that when, and I know you guys think differently, but I'm much on to making sure that everybody has their opportunities, and I know you think they have, but they're saying that they didn't get the final until 5 days ago, and we all know that we're all busy to do that. And I just think out of respect, and I do request that we also have the meeting in Lakeport. I think that would be good, and then we don't have such a big span, and we know that you're not really ready to really move much forward on this in the next 60 days. So I don't see where it's going.
So we have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote on continuing the item.
Well, I think it's not clear. We have the second placing an additional condition that wasn't made by the motion maker. So therefore, the original motion maker has to agree to include that, which is to have the meeting in Lakeport.
Yes, I concur that we hold the meeting in Lakeport.
Is that clear?
Presenter of the motion concurs with the...
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to continue the meeting, and the next one would be in Lakeport. Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Overton?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills?
I'm not sure, should I vote on?
Well, he's recusing himself, so...
Yeah, no, you do not vote.
Commissioner Gillespie?
None.
Commissioner McKenna?
No.
Commissioner Roby?
Aye.
I didn't get asked.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Comstock?
Aye.
I should have corrected that.
That's okay.
I thought I was getting better.
That doesn't, Commissioner, I would get the
Yes, Mr. Abel.
Oh, yes, he does.
Yes, he does. He needs to vote.
So did you vote to continue it, yes or no?
Would the meeting be here?
So, but do you want to continue the hearing or not continue the hearing?
Continue.
Okay. So,
So I have...
motion carries?
Motion carries.
Okay, so we will leave the public hearing open and continue it to September 16th at our next meeting, which will be in Lakeport.
Is the room available here? Otherwise, we could go to the county.
We might as well go to the county.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I now have, I continued the hearing earlier and had mentioned it was going to be in Lakeport, or in Clear Lake,
Correct.
so I think we need to go back and amend that motion, that item.
The
item
RC,
number
the consolidation.
That meeting also be held here.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to executive officers report. John?
All right, I'll be brief on this. I've got a couple things. The Clear Lake Oaks County Water District and the CSA 16 have filed an application to essentially dissolve the CSA 16, which is, Paradise Cove, and to annex that area as a non-contiguous annexation to the Clear Lake Oaks Water District. And so that's I'm gonna start processing once I receive the resolution from the Clear Lake Oaks Water. Also, the Rancheria, Middletown Rancheria has submitted an application for annexation into the Caledonia County Water District. So we are getting some projects.
And that's also non-contiguous, because there's a separation.
It's another
Yeah,
non-contiguous.
just so everyone knows, it's not contiguous.
Right, the thing with the Rancheria annex is that the district has been providing them with water all along.
Right, and they're already annexed into the sewer district.
They're already in the sewer district, just not in the water district.
Right,
Kind of needs
so,
to get together.
Yeah, the water goes in.
anyway, that's going through the process now. And so in terms of the next meeting, I'll make a determination if this room is available, we'll have it in Lakeport. And if not, we'll have it at the county boardroom in Lakeport. Last thing is the conference. We have 3 people going to the conference to represent LAFCO, Joyce, Ed, and Jared. So that's going to happen the first week of September. And I guess that's really all I've got to talk about at this point.
Where is that conference?
It's in Sacramento.
Any commissioner reports? Nothing? Correspondence?
There's correspondence from the Lake County Office of Education you have here. The education code requires them to notify LAFCO if they're before instituting proceedings for reorganization plan. And it looks like the Upper Lake Elementary and the high school have decided that they are going to to form a unified district. And so the education, Brock Falkenberg, forwarded a letter to me.
It's
Which is-
required by law that the
Which
district
is
notify
kind of
LAFCO.
nice that they do this, because I've never received a letter like this before, but that's good.
Good job, Brock. Anything else, John?
No.
Okay, we'll adjourn to LAFCO's next regular meeting, Wednesday, September 16, 2015, in Lakeport.
Okay. And that, because of the location,
It's not going to be a resolution.